All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Talk. Thank you very much for joining us either in person or catching it on channel 732. We're going to go ahead and get started this morning, and first up, we have a very exciting auction. Johanna, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank Peggy Aiello for knitting some beautiful sweaters that she donated to the scholarship fund, and we're going to have the raffle now for these sweaters. We are also going to have a scholarship ceremony. It'll be on Saturday, June 5th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the Grand Lobby South, and we have some wonderful people who are getting scholarships from the scholarship fund, and I want to thank everyone who has donated to that, because it's very, very helpful. We've really promoted a lot of people. We've got people going on for graduate degrees and doctorate degrees from our scholarship fund, so we're very proud of them. And now, on with the raffle. I'm going to ask Tiffany to draw, because she looks like she's not very partial.
No.
Cindy Lord. Cindy Lord has won the sweater. Now, I'm going to take these and dump them into another basket, and then at the end, if you didn't win from that, you're going to have another chance at winning. Okay. Let's come over here to Nelson. Nelson is on the scholarship fund, and
what am I doing?
You're just drawing somebody as a winner. And he was one of the evaluators. And Eleanor Fenn. Let's see now. Eleanor Fenn is here. Okay. Draw a winner. Somebody knows what to do. They crumple the thing, and then that's the one you get. Mr. Swanson, he bought a whole bunch of tickets, so he won. Okay, Don.
Let's get it.
Interesting.
There's only 2 tickets last year. So, I'll reach in and grab one.
Nancy Eibold. Okay, we got a winner on that one. And now for the grand winner, one more. Tiffany, draw again.
Please.
Lorraine Matthews. You can come and claim your sweaters later, and I have put the tags on each one. Thank you very much. Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations to all the winners. And next up, we're continuing with our spotlight on some of the great activities that are going on here, resident-led activities at Regency Oaks. And Chris Swanson in the woodworking shop is next.
Good morning, everyone. And to those on 732, good afternoon. I'm here to talk about the wood shop. John Strayer would have liked to have been here, but he's recovering from surgery, and the other 2 guys were too shy. So it's all up to here, to me. First of all, the wood shop is open to everyone, male, female. So if you get an opportunity and you want to do it, it's up there for everyone's use. We have a couple of outstanding women that have used the wood shop. Our own Robin Graham had used to have a space for storage and tools, and Linda Baldwin had a space for storage. And those that are new, you'll have to find someone that's been here at least 3 years to find out what a dynamic woman Linda Baldwin was. And she could have used a lot more storage because she had a lot of stuff. We wish we had more space, but we're working on that. One thing that the wood shop is locked, and it's for security and safety. And when the keys to the shop are at the front and in the south, at the north and south desks, you check out the key. You're gonna, get into the wood shop, and when you check out, you lock the door, please, and then return the key to the front desk. You sign it in, and you sign it out, and give you time and the apartment number. And like any place else, there's always rules. First and foremost, when you're in the wood shop, you must have your pendant. Yeah, there's a lot of power tools in there, and they're very sharp and they're very fast. So you need a pendant. We strongly encourage wearing a mask. There's a lot of dust. And if you have any kind of time in there, you want to protect your lungs. And of course, if you want to wear, depending on what you're doing, there's eyewear and of course hearing protection, depending on what you're doing. You don't want to lose what little hearing we have left. And of course, there's the rules like everything I learned in kindergarten. So if you use it, put it back. If you break it, fix it. If you don't know how to use a tool, ask someone. If you don't know how to fix it, ask someone to do that too. And of course, clean up your mess. We have plenty of brooms and vacuums. And some of the things that were done, for those not wanting to work in the wood shop on their own, we fix things. I've seen the guys do some real magic on repairing wood furniture and whatnot. So come on down and we'll give it an estimate of whether we can fix it or not. No charge. We make things for sale. We have toy makers. And we have seasonal items. This is not the pineapple eating vicious rabbit that Ron Carter has in the garden. Ours are warm and fuzzy. We cut the wood, and the arts and crafts people, they finish them off in the painting and artwork, because some of us aren't that good with artwork. And of course, the lectern there, that was made in the wood shop. The lectern in the south lobby was made in the wood shop. And if everybody would turn to their right, or I know it's going to be tough turning your head that far, but on the wall back there is a memorial to the unknown veteran. That was made in the wood shop. And I encourage you to take a few moments to read the plaque, because it mentions trinkets and treasures, which Linda Baldwin was the main in charge of that. And I hope the new town hall committee has found a good spot to hang that in the new town hall. We do, when we sell the toys and the figurines, we use that money to buy small items, sandpaper, saw blades, that type of thing. So we don't raise money for our crews. It goes back into the wood shop. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Oh, good. Thank you. Brant.
Thank you, Chris. So we're going to talk COVID this morning, but there's really good news. I don't have a COVID slide. So we are finally moving beyond COVID, but there are a couple of things I wanted to share. Positivity rate here in Pinellas County is 4.07. So it's phenomenal. You have a better chance of catching the flu than you do of catching COVID right now today. And then the second thing that I wanted to talk about is we continue to not have anyone on campus, resident or associates, who are suspected of having COVID or are being treated for COVID. And that's across all three of our product lines: assisted living, skilled nursing, and independent living. So we continue to be a great, safe place to live. I did want to talk briefly about some changes to our skilled nursing. And so we are entering phase 13B, which is the final stage before reopening over in our skilled nursing. And so this will change some of the directives for skilled nursing. And the most significant is the isolation ward is going to be reduced from 13 units to 4. Now, what that means to you is if you are vaccinated, if you go to the hospital for, let's say you fall, you break something, you're going to go to the hospital, you're there 4 or 5 days, you need rehab for 10 to 14 days. Used to be you had to go directly into the isolation ward. We are removing that requirement if you have had your COVID vaccine and you are at least 14 days beyond receipt of your COVID vaccine. You will be able to be admitted directly into the general population. So that's going to allow us to take that occupancy, which has been down in the mid-40s, back up to closer to full occupancy. We also have opened up visitations, and so if you are visiting someone or a loved one in assisted living, you're now able to go directly into those apartments and visit in the apartments because they're all private. If you are visiting someone in skilled nursing, you are now able to visit inside in the conference room or outside in the courtyard, and we are now allowing skin-on-skin visits. So you actually be able to touch a loved one and express a loving relationship. So big changes for skilled nursing and assisted living, and I'm excited to be entering phase 13B. And
When is that effective?
Today. Yeah, I think today. It could have been yesterday, but it's you can do it now.
Grant, do we need reservations for the skilled nursing?
We still are limiting the number of people in at any given time, but we have moved beyond. It used to just be one person at a time, and you had a 20-minute limitation. It's now multiple people depending upon where you want to go. If you want to go in the conference room, it's still only one family at a time. If you're willing to go outside into the courtyard and sit under one of the sails or the umbrellas, we can accommodate more people. So it sort of depends on time of the day, where you want to go, but it has moved beyond the restrictions.
Still need reservations?
Still need reservations. Okay, so that is all I'm going to talk about for COVID. So the next thing I'd like to do is the balance of our presentation today is the Peak Resident Satisfaction Pulse. I was going to do this last week, but as you may or may not recall, we had an electrical issue last week, and we were afraid that our computer systems were not going to reboot in time to do this, and most of the presentation was electronic. So we canceled a Tuesday talk last week and we pushed it to this week. And so we're going to talk about the Satisfaction Pulse. And this is a great term. I like the word pulse because they do not call it a survey. That was sort of never the intent. Only a very small number of people ever got this, and it was more of an opportunity to take the pulse of the communities and get an initial reading and to evaluate whether or not the questionnaire was valid. One of the things you will notice is that this was prepared by the LCS Market Research and Analytical Team. This is a little different than what you are familiar with. In the past, we have contracted this service out. When we were with Brookdale and prior to Brookdale with SHP and even Horizon Bay, we contracted it out. Holleran was generally the provider of choice, and Holleran administers these surveys across the country in thousands of senior living communities. And so LCS and Peak, they do it a little differently. This is an internal document. And so they wanted to, although they use this document with the rest of the LCS life care communities, this was the first time we had seen it, and so it's actually called a pulse. And so before we go to the first slide, Tiffany and I are going to reposition, and if you'll just give us 1 second. So objectives and methodology. The objective of the survey was to measure the current level of resident satisfaction on a wide range of service attributes. It was interesting that they chose to do this in the middle of a global pandemic. And they would ask questions like, are you satisfied with the level of activities that is going on in your community? And there were no activities. And so they were able to validate when people said, no, I'm not satisfied. They were able to validate that, yes, there were no activities going on. So if you think about environment, the survey environment, this was perhaps not the best time to have conducted this survey because so many of the amenities and services and programs that you have become familiar with were not fully up and running. We were better off at Regency than in some other communities that were still completely shut down. But if we had it to do over again, I just have to believe that we maybe would have chosen a different time to purvey this. An abbreviated online resident satisfaction survey was distributed to the IL, went to all 13 communities in April of 2021. Residents, it went primarily to residents who had an email. If you didn't have an email, you didn't get it. We had 9 residents here who took a paper and pencil survey. We're not entirely sure where they got it, but we did have people who did, 9 residents were able to complete it. And so we had a small number. In total, we had 1,336 residents across the entire portfolio, all 13 communities. It went out to a little over 4,500, and so if you work out the percentage, the participation rate was under 35% as a portfolio. Now, that's significantly less than what we're used to and what we will see in our annual survey. Our last annual survey, we had high 70s, nearly, I think it was 78% of our residents participated. So we were almost 2/3 below the participation level that we might expect. Understandable, and it was not a community-wide survey. It didn't go to you if you didn't have an email address. We were transparent in describing this as a pulse survey as opposed to a full resident satisfaction survey. A follow-up, the full satisfaction survey will be conducted in the fall of this year. It says third quarter. I've heard it's probably going to be September, but that's not locked in at this point. Next slide. Here are some of the key findings. Among the 20 attributes evaluated in the survey, Peak residents were most satisfied, and so there's always a top 3 and a bottom 3. Here were the top 3. Services provided by the concierge, it was 92%. Now, this was an interesting question because we technically don't have a concierge, and so we're not quite sure what residents were referring to or if this was related to other communities that maybe have that position, but that was the number one thing that residents were satisfied, and so that's certainly something that causes us to say, well, gosh, we ought to figure out what this person does and where we can get one. So, second item, highest item, was the safety and security of their community. 91% of the residents within the Peak portfolio said they felt safe and secure. And that probably makes sense because we were in the middle of a pandemic and there was an awful lot of energy and effort being applied to keeping residents safe and keeping our buildings COVID-free. So that's not surprising. And then the third was transportation services. Miss Tiffany and her team just did really, really well. Another interesting sort of bit of analysis here, most of our transportation within the 13 communities was significantly restricted. We weren't doing bus transportation. All of our individual transportation was limited to one-on-one, but still it rated very high. Here's our bottom areas. The residents were least satisfied with the variety of menu selections, 66, and meals tasting delicious, 47%, and all communities could see improvement in these areas. One of the things that we believe impacted the scores is, a large majority, or many residents are still receiving their meals through takeout or delivery. That is not how we present best. We present best if you are in our dining rooms where we can serve you directly. Our food is served hot, cold food is served cold, the presentation is enhanced, and I just don't believe that individuals who get a styrofoam container of food are going to be as satisfied as the people who are actually in our dining rooms. So that's one of the areas that we need to focus on as we move forward. Interesting enough, we thought with reopening the community, we were going to see a reduction in the number of people who are taking takeouts, and that has not been the case. We're as high 3 weeks after reopening as we were the day that we reopened, and where we normally would do 80 takeouts a day, we're close to 200. So it's more than double the number of individuals who are not coming to the dining room because they don't yet feel safe. So again, there's an opportunity for us to work on and try to improve. The peak satisfaction scores were lower for than those of the LCS programs, and so the Life Care Services has two divisions. They have a rental side which has 60 communities in it, and then they have the Life Care side which has another 40 some odd communities. And so we're part of those of the Life Care community, our 13 communities, and so our 13 communities overall, our scores were a little lower than the scores of the 2016 and 2020 surveys that were administered to the LCS Life Care portfolio, those 40 communities. First time through, one of the reasons we did the Pulse survey, and so that was not surprising to us. A good measure of overall satisfaction is being satisfied with the community as a place to live, and 8 out of 10, or 79%, of the peak residents agreed with that statement. So we were very satisfied with that score. That is the score that they use as the general question, and so it's not all that different than the Holleran survey, but it points to the same thing. I know you can't see this, peak portfolio performance, and so this is a sort of in descending order. The concierge, that was 91.5, community safe and secure, and then transportation. Those are all the top three. Right below that is the common areas in my community are kept clean, 85%. Over there on the right-hand side, you can see the numbers, and those numbers in the lighter shade. That's how the Life Peak non-Life Peak portfolio performed, so that you can do a side-by-side comparison. I am offered information or services to help me maintain my health and independence. We were right at 85%. I am offered a variety of activities, 84%. The executive director responds to my questions and concerns, 83%. Upkeep of outside grounds and landscaping is performed to my satisfaction, 82%. Now, remember that this is the peak portfolio. It's not Regency Oaks. And so if we don't know this, but we would suspect that if you ask Regency residents, how's the landscaping, that's usually one of the highest areas of your surveys. So again, this is limited data because it's community-wide or portfolio-wide. The maintenance team is responsive to my request for service, 80.6, and I am very satisfied with my community as a place to live. That is 79.2. So here's the second page, and this continues. Communication from the community leadership team is informative and timely, 78%. The health center team provides quality care, is 76%. The community helps me maintain all aspects of my well-being, physical, mental, social, spiritual, and emotional. That was 76%. The community leadership team runs a smooth and organized operation. That's 74%. The memory care team wouldn't have applied for Regency Oaks, and so I don't think we had a score there. Housekeeping is in my home is performed to my satisfaction, nearly 70%. The assisted living team provides quality care, 68.8. I am very satisfied with the job LCS, our new management company, is doing to support the community. About 68% of you agreed with that statement. And then the menu has a variety of selections. That was 66%, and the meals are delicious. That was our low scoring at 46.7. Now, remember, this is not just Regency. This is all the peak portfolio as it's pulled together.
I have a question. Is this ours or somebody else's?
Yeah. So
And wait, where is ours? Are you showing us what we're doing?
there isn't ours, and
It isn't ours.
it's the peak portfolio.
Can't you pull ours out?
No. And so but remember, I told you that before the survey happened, that it wouldn't have individualized results. Remember me telling you that way back in February? Okay. So let's finish it, and then I'm going to open it for questions. All right, next page. Here is the portfolio response frequencies, and all I'm going to show you, I'm not going to read this, but this gives you the breakdown. The dark green is strongly agree. The light green is agree. A mixture, I'm sort of sitting on the fence. That's what we used to call the neutrals. That was in the gray. And then the disagree is the light blue, and the strongly disagree is the dark blue. So this is just an opportunity to take a visual of sort of where that broke down and get a sense of how the portfolio responded. So next slide. Here is just the second half of the survey, and you can see the biggest breakdown. All right, and the last page. So here is the, remember we used to refer to this as it was the question, and it was the NPI question, the NOI question. Who remembers? National Promoter Score, NPS. Net Promoter, there we go. The Net Promoter Score, where it summarized everything and sort of rolled it up into a community graphic. This is the only one I have that breaks it down to Regency Oaks. Regency Oaks is right down there at the fourth one, and I am very satisfied with my community as a place to live, and we had 83% of the residents respond. I am completely satisfied or somewhat satisfied. with that statement. So Regency Oaks was in the top quadrant in terms of the survey. Okay, so that was a summary of the peak portfolio, and remember, this was the purpose of this survey was to take a pulse of the portfolio and to evaluate and familiarize ourselves, both residents and operators, with the survey process. And so there's, unlike our typical satisfaction plan where we develop action plans and share it with the residents, we're not going to do that on the Pulse survey. The full resident survey is going to be later this year. I think it's going to be in September. And that's going to be open to every single resident, and it's something that we'll be a part of and we're looking forward to, and we'll have more specific individual results from the full resident satisfaction survey. All right, I'm going to open it up for questions. Miss Judy, hold on. We're going to bring you a microphone. Sir. Mike, sir, this side of the room.
Do you have any idea what percentage of the Regency Oaks residents were given the opportunity to do that? We were not.
So it supposedly went to everyone that had an email, and so remember, this is a very different survey than what we've done in the past. Regency was kept completely out of this. This was handled entirely by LCS. It was a pulse survey. And so I've heard from a number of people that had emails. We have, I think the numbers, if Mary Ellen Gardner is not here, I think Mary Ellen told me we now have 280 resident emails. I think that's a good number. I don't think it went to all 280. It was a pulse survey. It was nothing more than to get a pulse of what's happening in the community, and it was not designed to be a complete, total survey of the entire resident population. So you cannot evaluate that as one of your criteria. It was never intended to be a full, complete survey of every single resident who resides at Regency Oaks. It was a test. That's what we need. We need one of those big test things that comes on the TV. This is a test. Next question. Wow.
Brian, could I add something?
Sure.
I forgot to put it in my notes, but to join with the raising money for the scholarship fund, one of the things that the wood shop made, John and I had a prototype chair and desk. It was our first attempt, because we modified the design. The cosmetics are a little shaky, but it's solid. It'll hold a young child, and if anybody wants to buy it, we'll donate the funds to the scholarship fund.
Well, thank you.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. So that's all I have for you today. If there are any last questions.
This question doesn't pertain to the survey.
Your turn.
Do you have an update on when the air conditioner in the activity room south is going to be replaced? It is terrible. It's 85 degrees in there all the time. They come in and they have Freon, and by the time they're leaving, the Freon's gone. And that room is used a lot.
Airstrom was there yesterday.
So, yeah, the vendor was there yesterday, Tiffany tells me. I don't have an update, but I'll find out, and I will address it in the Tuesday Talk memorandum. So look for that in Tuesday Talk. We'll get you an answer.
Ryan, my question is in regard to the grounds and the landscaping. I've noticed the grass is extremely dry and yellow. In some areas, it's gone completely. I wondered what was happening, and also the fountain on the breezeway seems very dirty, and there's weeds in and around that. And it looks a bit of a mess. I just wondered what was happening. Thank you.
So, three things on the grounds. So, pardon me. It hasn't rained in quite a while, and so the grass is dry. That's a pretty normal condition this time of the year. We're waiting for the early summer rains. It always tends to be a little dry this time of the year. Two other things that you need to be aware of. Corey was treating some crab and dollarweed, and so there some of the patches that you see that are more brown than yellow. That's because he's intentionally killing off those patches. They're particularly in the interior courtyards off of the north building. You have seen some yellow patches. There was an irrigation issue that is now repaired, and it's now getting water. So we anticipate that the yard is going to come back completely, and Corey assures me that it is in pristine condition. It's just showing some stress.
Thank you.
Question here, Frank.
Frank?
Yes, sir.
I have a survey or a petition from the South Building to improve the heat in the pool and the spa. And it's signed by many people from the South Building. So at this time, I'd like to hand this over to you.
Okay, thank you. Let me pass this to Don Hamilton, he can give an update on his activities.
Perfect.
Thank you. The Building and Grounds Committee has been working, has received the earlier petitions. They've studied it. They're going to have a meeting later this week, and we should have an announcement to make very promptly. Thank you, Don.
I know you can give the right answer, it's my favorite.
Well done.
Okay.
Soon, it's coming soon. All right.
Let me make one more. I've had a number of people complaining about or asking about the brown spots. And there have been some areas where the residents have turned off the sprinkler system for a particular area. They don't want their cars spotted or something like that.
Oh, my God.
Please do not monkey with any of the controls for the irrigation system.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Okay.
All right, Frank.
All right. So I'll just close it out here. And all right, that concludes Tuesday Talk. Thank you very much for coming out, and I appreciate the questions. Have a great day.